It all started with a little spot in my wrist. Thought it was an allergy or something like that. And a hematologist found peripheral T-cell lymphoma. It's a rare disease. And unfortunately, it was already at stage 4. You know, we've done some reading, and Katrina had found an article saying only about 5% survival rate.
In late February, we were getting ready one Sunday for church, and my daughter walked in the room and looked at her mother and said, "You look a little yellow." And we were acute enough to understand that she was jaundiced. 3 days later, she had diagnosis with pancreatic cancer. And we certainly weren't expecting this, and so we are blessed. We found it very early.
The day that I found out, the doctor was actually looking for something else. So when she did find out that she had a lung disease, so I'm thinking, okay, let's take some pills, let's get it done. And she said, no, there's no cure for this. I said, well, how do we solve it? He said, well, we have to do a transplant. I said, well, just one lung? He said, no, it's in both of her lungs, we gotta do both. When the doctors told us that and then told us we had to visit somewhere else to get the expertise that we need, I just took it to a whole different level. So yeah, from that perspective, when we first found out about that, it was pretty detrimental. But you know, I got a beautiful wife, and we're gonna do what it takes to make it happen.
I'm driving down the road, and all of a sudden, the car in front of me just split. So I had 2 cars in front of me that weren't supposed to be there. And when I went to the ear, nose, and throat specialist, she looked at me, checked me out, and said, "Do you feel your heartbeat in your head?" I said, "Yes, ma'am." She said, "We need to get an MRI done." They came back and said, "Hey, you got a brain tumor." And that's where it started.
He said, well, I got my results back from my MRI, and I was like, really, what's going on? He said, I have a brain tumor. And I just thought that was the end of the world, because Clint is like the nicest guy and will do anything for anybody. And then for this to happen to him was just devastating.
I've been diagnosed with multiple myeloma, which is a cancer in the bones.
It was on August 21st, 2017, and I noticed that she was pale. And so me and my husband decided to take her to a doctor to run some tests. And when the blood work results came back, that's when we noticed that something was wrong. The numbers were not right. Took her to the hospital. She stayed inpatient there for 2 weeks. But then we decided that we wanted to look for a bigger chance. In Honduras, we have a 60% chance of survivance. And here, it's more than a 90%. So we took a risk, and we came to Memphis.
When we found out my husband had leukemia, it was just a whirlwind. But just in a couple of days, we were in Nashville here at Vanderbilt. And then very quickly, we realized we were going to be here for an extended period of time. You know, I would need a place just to get away, so I could just work through things on my own, and I would need to be strong for him. So if you have an apartment or somewhere to go to, you can have somewhere to go to be alone, you know, to cry.
Open Arms has been a godsend. I'm about to cry. Can you tell I like my job? Patients rely on the medical field to make them physically better, but because cancer impacts on so many different levels, not only the physical part, we have to rely on other people. To have a charity there to help pick up the pieces financially is life-changing for some of these patients. Life-changing.
To me, Open Arms is a home away from home.
The relief that it can provide people to not have to worry about housing. It can only be more difficult to have to travel somewhere else and have to do that. So it is a really good feeling to be able to help those in need.
It's one less thing that a cancer patient has to think about when they're trying to live and they're trying to survive.
Nobody knows the actual length of time because you're down here, you're on the hospital schedule.
It's not unusual for them to be here 3, 6, 10 months.
They said at St. Jude that her treatment was going to last 2.5 years.
When you are not working, you're on medical leave, you've got your co-pays, you've got out-of-pocket expenses. A hotel room is too expensive.
Our families are often in the hospital for months at a time, and those families have to uproot their entire lives to come here.
I worried that we weren't going to be able to bring my kids, my other 2 kids. They were still in Honduras. We needed to find a place for them before moving them here. All the apartments we looked at, I was like, we can't afford this. I was having anxiety. I was crying.
Next thing you know, Vic called us and said, hey, we got you an apartment and it's not too far from the hospital.
It takes a certain element completely away when you don't have to worry about where it is you're going to be laying your head at night.
Without this, it'd be a financial burden. We would have to come up with, I think the estimate was about $15,000 or so for the time that we'd have to rent a place.
It's like the weight of the world just lifted off my shoulder. It gave me a little bit of strength in a way.
Just having a place to go home, a bed to sleep in that's theirs, and they can feel like a family again, get to cook meals together. It makes a huge difference for them. So Open Arms has really been a lifesaver for those families.
Open Arms is more than just an apartment. It's more than a home. It's comfort, peace of mind.
So to be able to provide that for families in need, indescribable.
With some of our guests, they have a support system already built in, so they don't need us as much. But sometimes we have people that are alone, and I feel like that's when we make the biggest impact for them.
When I see people that come through our Open Arms suites, I don't look at them as guests, I look at them as family members.
So there's really no feeling like you feel when you know that you're helping somebody.
Seeing the joy and the appreciation of what we're able to provide and help with. And it's a small part, with everything that they're dealing with, but to be able to help in some way just gets you.
When we were expecting a new guest, it's kind of like Christmas Day. Full of anticipation for the guest to arrive. We're getting everything ready, make sure everything is perfect for that guest. And then when that guest arrived, we welcome them with open arms.
But it was phenomenal. I mean, we drove up and the staff here was very accommodating.
It was absolutely so well organized and decorated beautifully. It was a place for families. Most places are just for the caregiver and the patient. Couldn't ask for it to be any better.
The special part is to see them walk in and be happy and feel at home.
We didn't have to worry about our kids not having a place to come and still feel like they were at home.
Having the space and everything was just, it helps you heal. It really does.
Sounds cliche when I say it's rewarding, but it really was one of the most rewarding moments of not only my career, but probably my life.
To me, it's like home. It's home away from home. I mean, that's how we reference it. When we leave, we go, okay, we're going home. And when we say home, we mean here in this apartment.
It makes me feel proud, and it also makes me proud of my company that I work for.
Having Open Arms is more than a benefit for working for MAA. It's one of the best feelings that I've had ever working with a company.
It makes me feel proud, actually, because it just gives an example of our core values, that we live it and we take pride in it.
Open Arms is the heart of our company.
It's brought on by our employees and by vendors, and it's just something that I think everybody is so excited and happy to be a part of.
You're giving back to individuals like me, and I appreciate it. I really do.
It makes me happy that someone is out there willing to do that for my family if they're ever in need, or your family, and it means a lot.
Even if we don't have an Open Arms apartment at our community, which so many of us don't, we still have the opportunity to fundraise and make a difference. It's hard work putting together what we do for Open Arms, but it's worth it.